I write urban fantasy. For those not familiar, this basically means a contemporary setting with a magical twist. In my case, I do vampire buddy cop mysteries. And while a lot of people come to my booth hoping for a good vampire story with great characters, the mystery itself still needs to make sense. And I have seen plenty of movies where the mystery simply does not add up, not to mention some of the books I've read.
This is literature? A 2-year-old could have written this.
So I want to get at the heart of the matter. Is it all about the clues and the red herrings, or is there something more important when we're thinking about the elements of our mysteries and how we explain them? And what can we learn from mysteries past? To that end, today I will be interviewing best-selling author Christine Husom. So I kind of want to start in a different place. Normally, we just kind of get right on into it, but you have a very unique beginning to your author origin story. So let's start there.
So as a child, I wrote, a lot of poems and plays for the neighborhood kids, and we acted in them, that kind of thing. Yeah, kind of always been writing. Actually, my father had a rather bizarre death, and I hadn't ever planned to write a mystery, but that's what sparked the idea for my first Winnebago County mystery. He was a patient in the hospital, was going to get out the next day. We went to visit him. He was happy that he was going home. And I got a call about midnight. Your dad died. He drowned in the hospital pool. It's like, what hospital pool? I'd been sleeping for like an hour or so, and I worked early morning then. So nothing made sense. And we don't know exactly what happened, but he had been given an Ambien. And back in 1997, you didn't hear about people having weird reactions to Ambien, but he was there on one nurse's round, not in the next. He got out of bed, around his bed rail. He ripped out his IV, so it was still dripping, so the alarm didn't ring. And he walked directly to the emergency exit. When we got to the hospital, we could see his blood drips from his room to the emergency exit. And so he wasn't wandering around. He pushed open the door. The alarm didn't ring. Every time they tested the next day, it rang for the full 2 minutes. He went out in the pouring rain, went down this hospital hill, fell in this holding pond and drowned. It's like, no.
This is a pretty hardcore origin story.
He wasn't depressed. He had no dementia. What happened? Well, he was a retired district judge, and he had been threatened over the years. And so they thought that maybe he had an episode of sundowning. That's when an elderly person wakes up. They're not home. They feel like compelled. I got to get home. I got to get home. We don't know.
Right.
Factored into it. But why didn't the alarm ring? So about a year after he died, I thought, what if it wasn't an accident? What if someone did that to him? Who would be that person? What would be their motivation? So the first character that I created was in my Winnebago series was Elvie Eisner, who is seeking revenge. Her son had died in prison, and she held everybody in the criminal justice system responsible for his death. So she's at the hospital with her granddaughter and sees this judge being wheeled in, and it just kind of sparks this hate that she's had for all these people in the justice system. That sparked the idea, and I created then my Winnebago County characters, Corinne Corky Alexson and Detective Smoke Dawes, are the two main characters that are in each book. So about halfway through writing the first book, I fell in love with my characters. The second book actually is inspired by what's still an unsolved cold case from 1992, but I fictionally solve it. So I don't like unsolved crimes. You can't do that to people.
What? You don't leave your readers wondering what's going on? Come on. Take a risk.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
No, I think it's interesting. There's a certain amount, I think, with every writer I've ever met, where we're kind of analyzing ourselves in our work by pretending to be someone else. Like one of my books is actually about a woman who finds a baby during the zombie apocalypse, and she doesn't like children. I love my son, let me be very clear about this, but I was on the no children bandwagon for a while, so I've had to analyze why I've changed my mind. And a big part of that book is me analyzing that experience. So yeah, I think that drives a huge part of good fiction for sure.
There's a lot of creativity, obviously, when we're writing, but there's so many things that we can base our stories on. I mean, people we know, things that have happened, that kind of thing. And what's funny though is that certain things that I put that are actual facts in my stories, people say, that didn't seem very realistic. It's like, okay, you believe everything I made up, but
You know, it's fine. I get the same thing. Again, I write urban fantasy, so vampire buddy cop mystery. So we have something in common and something very widely diverse in what we do, right? But I get
right.
the same thing where people read my whole vampire book, not a peep about the mythology or the vampires or any of that. No, no, no. I get flack for how I represent the police department.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Okay. Yeah.
okay, number one, yes, I do use the partnership trope, which I know is false in policehood. I know that it's a team and da da, but it's easier to write with a short cast than with a big cast. And number two, are you effing kidding me? Like, I just have to like shake my head, like, really? You picked up my book expecting realism?
That's the part that's easy for me, the police procedural part of it. But
Right.
at the same time, you can't give everything away either.
Hmm.
I mean, what actually would happen in certain circumstances and things. So there's a bit of just not telling everything. Let me
Right.
put it that way.
Well, there's also the simple fact of you have to balance your exposition. So even with a story that is set in a more contemporary setting like yours, I'm sure there's stuff where you're like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the grain of the wood on the desk because no one
Right.
cares, right? And that's where people I think get a little confused is the fact that there is world building in contemporary. So,
Hmm.
and you still have to pick
Definitely.
your battles. So we have our usual 3 movie clips that I do on this channel, focusing on how to build a good mystery within your story. Here's the Five Nights at Freddy's.
About time. Starting to think maybe you fell asleep on the job.
Can I help you, officer?
Please, my name's Vanessa. And you must be the new security guard?
Yeah.
You're bleeding, by the way. It's nasty. Come on. I know where they keep a first aid kit. Love what you've done with the place. Why Nebraska? Oh, you need a hand?
I'm fine.
You sure? Here. I'm a certified EMT. So if your heart ever goes out, I'm the one you want to call.
You seem to really know your way around the place.
Well, Freddy's is on my beat. I like to stay well informed. Also, I really loved this place as a kid. There. That should do it. Vanessa Shelley.
Mike.
Pleasure to meet you, Mike. You doing all right this evening, Mike?
What?
Are you good? Are you okay? Is everything copacetic?
Yeah, I know what all right means.
You also know that your eyes are bloodshot and your heart rate's through the roof. And aside from that gash on your arm, which, let's be honest, is pretty freaking bizarre, you've been acting suspicious since the moment you opened the door.
Yeah, look, it's been a weird night.
Sounds like Freddy's. This place, it gets to people. It's one of the reasons why you're gonna quit.
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, you security hires? You never last. Have you met them yet?
Met who? So what are the other reasons?
Huh?
Why you think I'm gonna quit my job?
Well, you tell me. Is this somewhere you see yourself 10, 20 years from now? I mean, what do I know? Maybe the benefits are great. I didn't think so. Add to that the thing with those kids going missing.
What did you just say?
Certainly the setting, it was a dark and stormy night. Ooh, so right away you kind of get this little hint of suspense coming up.
Mhm.
And Mike looking out at his camera to see who was at the door. And I was kind of curious, did he call for the police or was she just randomly show up? But he went to the door and he was, a little reluctant and, acted slightly suspicious. Of course, he has this bleeding hand. Vanessa, though, she's kind of upbeat, but
Yeah.
she introduced herself as Vanessa, and the police procedural part of me said, no, you say I'm officer, Vanessa so-and-so from wherever, whatever department. So
Right.
that was a little bit off for me. And the second thing that she did, I think wrong, was kind of push herself in the building ahead of Mike. Well, she didn't know Mike. You always let the suspect or the person go ahead, because if someone's behind you, they can grab you. You don't know this person.
So your brain's kind of honing in on the technical police procedures that she's just going with.
I just happened to notice that because of my training. And so that kind of threw me off a little bit. But she was, concerned about his hand, and she gets in and kind of starts talking about, Freddy's and where you're from. And it was curious. I'm not familiar with Freddy's, but there's something about the place that's a little bit concerning. And they've got all these cameras that are watching these different rooms. But she pushes the button and all of a sudden the place lights up. And so
Right.
that was kind of a fun thing when that all happened.
Yeah, it kind of subverts your expectations for a second after all
Right,
the
exactly.
ooh
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
You we're not expecting that. And the other thing that was kind of interesting was her comment that security guards don't last long there. So It was like, okay, that, that kind of makes you wonder really what's behind all this. So those are my observations from that clip.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of what I noticed too, because I'll be honest, I use this as an excuse to finally watch the movie. I've been interested in it, but we all know when you're doing the author gig and you try to have a balanced life, you barely ever make time for things. I was like, you know what, this will give me an excuse to go watch this with my husband because he's told me this is a fun film. And yeah, that was kind of the things I was noticing too, is like they're doing this really good job of giving you more questions than answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me more intrigued. Whereas a lot of times you watch something that turns out to be a thriller or a horror film and they're just focused on scaring you. And this one,
Right.
it's more suspense driven.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
We can move right into the next one, which was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Strange. I've never seen spiders act like that.
I don't like spiders. What's that?
The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. It's written in blood.
Oh no. It's Filch's cat. It's Mrs. Norris.
Enemies of the air, beware. You'll be next, mudbloods.
What's going on out? Come on, make way, make way.
Potter, what are you...
She's noticed.
You've murdered my cat. No. I'll kill you. I'll kill you!
There again, it was very dark in there. It's just kind of an ominous thing. Harry and his cohorts are, kind of looking at the writing on this wall and this dead cat's hanging there. And all of a sudden, everyone's kind of descends on them. The tension or the fear when the cat owner came in and he was so angry. I mean, right. I'd be really terrified if I were those kids particularly. The only comment that I would have that would be slightly negative is that some of the dialogue was difficult to understand, but of course they're speaking with different accents also. Yeah. But it was just some of it maybe could have been cleaned up a bit so it was easier to understand.
You're kind of speaking of the heart, Matt. Like, we're talking about how to build mysteries, but at the same time you can't have a good scene without conflict, and you're bringing up the fact that this guy's just lost his cat. He's very upset and distraught. So you're getting all this good mystery exposition that creates questions, but you're right, it's intertwined with the conflict of, no, I didn't do this to your cat. I swear I didn't do this to your cat.
Yep.
And simultaneously, you're also bringing up a good point, because I've had to deal with this. One of my characters has an Irish accent, and I do write it out. And I have to be gentle with that, because otherwise people get confused, and they're like, what is she even saying? If you can't understand the conflict, it's meaningless. But now we've got the more traditional interview in Knives Out.
We're just going to reintroduce ourselves as a formality. I'm Detective Lieutenant Elliott, and this is Trooper Wagner. Now, I'm going to record this just to make things easier. All right, we're with Linda Drysdale, nee Thrombey, Harlan Thrombey's eldest daughter, and discussing the events that took place the night of his demise 1 week ago, November 8th.
We're very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. That means a lot.
So we understand that night the family had gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday.
Yes.
How was it?
The party? Pre my dad's death? Oh, it was great.
Did anyone besides the family show face?
Fran, the housekeeper.
He was a nice guy, but he was so hairy.
Jacob.
And I've dated Italian guys. You know what I mean?
Marta, Harlan's caregiver. Good girl. Hard worker. Family's from Ecuador. And Juanetta. Great Nana. Harlan's mom.
Hi, Nana.
His mom?
Nana?
Wow. How old is she?
We have no idea.
Okay, and your son, Ransom, did he attend as well?
Yes, but he left early.
Ransom, are you leaving?
Right. Did you say that all three of you showed up around the same time?
No. Richard came early to help the caterers set up.
Okay, and you and your husband, Richard, work at a real estate firm in Boston?
No, it's my company.
Right. Sorry.
I built my business from the ground up.
Oh, just like your father. You two were very close.
We had our own secret way of communicating. I mean, you had to find that with Dad. You had to find a game to play with him, and if you did that, and you played by his rules...
Here with Joni Thrombey, Harlan Thrombey's daughter-in-law.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I married his son, Neil. We had one daughter, Meg, and then Neil passed on 15 years ago.
But you remained close to the Thrombeys.
Oh, they're my family. I feel simultaneously freed by and supported by them. It's that balance of opposites that's the nugget of flam.
Sorry, the nugget of...
Flam.
Oh, yeah, Flam, your skincare company. Sorry.
I forgive you. Yeah, it's skincare, but it promotes a total lifestyle. Self-sufficiency with an acknowledgement of human need. That's Flam. But it's also Harlan. He got me and Meg through some tough times.
Granddad gives my mom a yearly allowance, and he's never missed wiring a tuition payment to my schools. He's a genuinely selfless man.
But you left the party early.
Have fun. To see some friends at Smith.
You know Dad pays for her crypto-Marxist, post-deconstructural feminist poetry theory, whatever major. She could have stuck around for the cake.
I think Linda was upset. But Harlan understood.
Right. You two showed up to the party around the same time.
If I could pause, because who is that guy?
Because there's quite a few characters, that were, suspects / interviewed. So I appreciated that they put their names there. It's like, okay, now I can associate, this person, maybe because I'm kind of visual too. But yeah, it opened up. I mean, Linda is an intriguing character because she is so emotionless. She just says, yeah, we're very close. But it was more like, we understood that, I mean, when unspoken language, why we were close. And I would think that she would be more distraught, have expressed some kind of emotion about it. Some people do close up when bad things happen. So maybe she hasn't really processed it. But yeah, she was, just very articulate, very matter of fact. But Linda was, kind of naming the people that were there, including the caregiver and the maid. So that kind of built it up to open it up to, okay, there's quite a few suspects. And how do we narrow this down? I thought that was a good way to get kind of the characters out there. Kind of had to suspect everyone. I mean, Joni was kind of a little bit of a comic relief in a way, because she doesn't seem like she would fit with somebody so structured like Linda. And I really like that when she was talking and being interviewed, and all of a sudden, this investigator is out, strikes his piano key, and it's like, oh, who's that? Didn't even notice that he was there at first or something. So I thought they had, the police, the investigators, I thought were good. They were, serious, and yet they seemed like they cared also. So it started intrigue off right away.
It's kind of like Clue, but you're going in reverse, right? That's kind of
Exactly.
like I feel watching Knives Out. But what I'm kind of hearing, and it's this through line I've noticed, being that you are more focused on the mystery side of things. I'm noticing that you're really focused on the characters, which obviously every writer should be, but I feel like that gets really left to the wayside when we talk about genres. You really can't talk about one piece of writing advice without it being interwoven with something else. And what I'm hearing from you a lot is the people, the characters, which it seems like that's really at the heart of everything you're thinking about, is how are these people communicating and acting and behaving with each other?
Someone wrote one time, characters are plot and plot is characters. And I think that's so true. When I'm writing, I feel like I'm walking beside my characters. I'm listening to them talk. I'm watching their actions. And I know they have different voices. We know things about people, but we don't verbalize it all the time. And readers, they take on these characters as people that they know, Right. I mean, I've had people say, I would love to go have a beer with Smoke or to hang out with Corky and Sarah. So some of those comments are really a compliment, because, we create these characters, but then when we release them to the public, then it becomes their characters too.
One thing I like to ask every interviewee, if you had one person sitting in front of you right now, they're a new writer, and they're about to try to get to the heart of writing a good mystery, what's that one piece of advice that you would give them that you wish you had when you started?
Read others, and you have to find your way of writing.
All right. And of course, where can everyone find you and your best-selling mysteries?
Well, they are in any local bookstores. You can request them if they don't have them in stock. They're in the library systems, and if they aren't, you can always request them. So I have the Winnebago County mysteries and the more cozy, traditional Snow Globe Shop mysteries, which I'm writing the 5th one right now.
Thank you again to my guest, Christine Husom. As per usual, all the links for her books will be down below. Please check her out. She has an amazing catalog with so many options. And if you'd like to continue to support these interviews and video essays, please make sure you are subscribing to this channel. It's insane to me how fast this channel is growing, and I only have you guys to thank for that. But as always, thank you so much for joining us, and happy writing.